Now let's talk about something called an event. When I double click on this button, it creates an event. And here we can actually see E as event argument. So an event is anything that the computer is listening for. Normally when you set a computer program running, it will just sit there waiting to be told to do something. For example, it was there waiting for you to log on, and it was only when you started typing on the keyboard or moving the mouse or clicking that it actually started to do something. So these events are the things that drive every computer. Now with the countdown, we don't want it to count down every time we click a button. We want it to count down on its own. So to do that, we need somehow to create an event that will happen on its own, and that thing is called the timer. That's why it's here. Now by default, a timer is a bit like a metronome. It will go tick, 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 and by default it ticks 10 times a second, or 100 milliseconds. So that's a bit fast for me. I'm going to make it a bit slower, so I'm going to increase its interval to 1000 milliseconds, or once a second. Also notice that where it says enabled in the timer's properties, it's currently false. That means it's not running. That's quite a key thing. Okay, so we need to set the timer properties to 1000 millisecond interval and make sure it's set to false. When I create another event, like a click on the start button, one of the things I can do then is I can say, alright, timer 1.enabled is equal to true. Now the event of clicking the button will trigger the timer and start it to tick, and we can now run something else every time it's ticked. Okay, we've got a bit more to do before we get there. So what I'd like you to do is set up the properties of the timer, and then one line inside a button one click to enable it. Away you go.